Hello and welcome to helpyourmath.com. In this video, we're going to look at quantifiers and how they relate to logic. A quantifier is an adjective that indicates how many cases of a particular situation exist. We have two types of quantifiers: the universal quantifiers, which are all, each, every, or no or none. So either everyone's included or no one's included. Or the existential quantifiers, which are some, there exist, for at least one, or some do not, there are some who exist who do not, whatever. And we want to be careful when we're negating a quantifier. So I mentioned in a previous video about negations and how they can get really tricky, and here's a place where they can get really tricky. Remember, for negations, the negation of a statement has the exact opposite truth value as the statement. So if the statement is true, then the negation must be false. If the statement is false, then the negation must be true. And there's no room for wiggling here. So it's one or the other. Okay, so we have looked at four different types of quantifiers. We have the all, and then I broke this down into, there's 3% of people. There's exactly 0%, there's somewhere in between 0 and 100%, and then there's 100%. And here I'm going for the positive, so this is 0% of people do. 1 to 99% of people do, 100% of people do. So in an all situation, it's false if nobody does it. It's false if somewhere between 0 and 100 do it. And it's true when 100% of people do it. So an all is only true when everyone does this particular thing. For no or none, it's true when 0% of the people do this thing and never anyone. If there's a single person who does, then the no or none is gone, right? It's done. For some do, if 0% of the people do this thing, some do is false. If 1 to 99% of people do this thing, then some do is true. And if 100% of people do this thing, then some do is also true. And then some do not. That includes 0% of the people. That includes somewhere between 1 and 99%. It does not include 100% of people. So I like this table because it really shows us what is the negation of what, right? So in order for something to be the negation for an all, it has to be the exact opposite. Trues and falses is what we see here. So the exact opposite of all is actually down here. Some do not. So when we're looking at negations, all and some do not are negations of each other. And then no or none and some do are negations of each other, right? Because when this one's true, this one's false. When this one's false, this one's true. When this one's false, this one's true. So that means that those are true negations. We want to be very, very careful. I cannot emphasize enough that the negation for all is not none. If I say every single person in the world likes mint chocolate chip ice cream, it is not true to say the negation is nobody likes chocolate chip ice cream. That's simply not true, because we all know the truth is somewhere in the middle. Some people do and some people do not. Okay, so what is the negation for all cats are named Sir Hair-Ballington? This is an all situation. So remember, if we look back here, what's the negation of all? It is some do not. So it would be, we could say there are some cats not named Sir Hair-Ballington, or we could say there is at least one cat not named Sir Hair-Ballington. There are other ways that we can say this, but we just need to make sure that we say some not. At least one not. There should be a negation in there. If you don't include that negation, it is wrong. How about some people prefer apples to oranges? So this is some people do. The negation of some people do is nobody does. Nobody prefers apples to oranges. No team with an 0-5 record has won the Super Bowl. There is a team with an 0-5 record that has won the Super Bowl, would be the negation, right? This has never happened before. This is saying there is some team out there who did this thing. Okay, so to summarize, the negation for all, do, or every is some do not. The negation for some do is none do. The negation for some do not is all do, or whatever correct English. And the negation for none do is some do. Hopefully this makes sense why these are the negations, and you can't just say the negation is that. It's the exact opposite, because that's not the negation. Okay, so now I encourage you to pause the video and practice with these 4 examples and see if you can come up with a negation for each one. Okay, hopefully you paused it. Let's check it out. So we have some people like Mike. This is some do. The negation for some do is, say it with me, nobody. Nobody likes Mike. Oops, sorry, I forgot the S. There, nobody likes Mike. Poor Mike. No elderly person can twerk. This is none can. So the negation of that is some do. At least one elderly person can twerk, or some variation of that. There is an elderly person who can twerk. Some elderly people can twerk would be fine too. Lots of wiggle room here. Everybody has a pet fish. What's the negation of everybody? That would be some do not. Or there is one person who does not have a pet fish. Somebody does not have a pet fish. We just need to make sure that we indicate the quantifier with the not. Some do not. And lastly, there are some professors at BMCC who do not have brown eyes. So this is some do not. The negation would be every professor at BMCC has brown eyes. This has been a video on quantifiers. Thank you for stopping by.